Hello, my name is Anita Beaty, and I'm the Executive Director of the Metro Atlanta Task Force for the Homeless. And I'm here to talk about the Olympics as we experience the 1996 Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta. We understand here that our mayor has reported to you that the Olympics in Atlanta were a good thing, and we want to make sure that you know the truth about the Olympics and the promises that you hear from elected officials, particularly mayors, in the lead up to the games and certainly in the attempt to get the bid. We've seen in many cities that even the bid attempt, the bid proposal time, creates an enormous amount of development hysteria in cities across the world who've competed to get the bid for the Olympics. And what we've experienced in Atlanta beginning in 1991, when we organized the Atlanta Olympic Conscience Coalition, was we tried very hard to make sure that the Olympic planners and that the Olympic Committee in Atlanta did what they promised. And one of the promises was that there would be no public funds used to produce the 1996 Olympics. Well, by 1995, somewhere over close to $400 million in public funds had been used because so many of the venues that were selected were on public land. So, for example, the Centennial Park, which is one of the legacies of the Olympics, so we're told, is on public property and is managed and secured and policed by public facilities, public security. So the cost goes on. Another $120 million, I think, was spent actively by the Board of Regents of the university, the Georgia University system, to improve facilities and to help with the building of the Olympic Village, which has since been turned over as dormitories for the Georgia Tech and Georgia State students, and some Atlanta University students, I understand. But in no case was there a profit made in the games. In fact, if there's evidence that Atlanta broke even on the costs for the games in '96, we haven't seen it. We also hear that Mayor Franklin claimed that the Olympics created jobs in Atlanta, and that was absolutely a joke. In fact, we had labor on board with us in our resistance efforts to try to make sure that the jobs that were created by the construction and the games themselves went to Atlanta unemployed people and Atlanta skilled workers who are underemployed. That did not happen, and I'm sorry to say that labor was one of the first groups to peel off and to make some small sort of for crumbs deals with the Olympic planners in the early planning process and in the construction process. But most of the contractors who got the bids brought workers in from outside Atlanta. And that was deplored locally, but it didn't get much press attention. Also, the mayor, I think, said that there was no harm done to anybody in the preparation lead up to the Olympics and during the Olympics. Well, my organization and some others who were part of this Olympic Conscience Coalition documented 9,000 arrests of African American men in the 12 months leading up to the year of the games. These 9,000 people were not all arrested at once, but one of the first completed projects in the construction deals for the Olympics was a new jail with expanded capacity, which was very much used the minute it was open. And so we had the documentation of 9,000 people having been harassed and arrested. We got a copy that we thought we'd have to discover of an arrest citation that was blank. The charge was blank, the name was blank, but the description is African American male homeless. And these arrest citations were pre-printed and given in stacks to the police. And that documentation, those certifications, were part of the basis for the lawsuit that we caused to be filed and was heard 2 days before the opening ceremonies. So a federal judge granted an injunction and a restraining order and said to the city, bad city, you stop arresting people without probable cause. And we went on later, 2 years later, to settle the case with some financial damages awarded to the plaintiffs who were homeless and stayed through those long years to bring the suit. However, that was the news story that was sort of heard around the world, because the international press were kind of bored with the staged facade they were being allowed to see, and they were bussed around the Olympics by the Olympic planners so that they ostensibly couldn't go beyond the Potemkin Village front and get to what was really going on in Atlanta, which is deep poverty, deep racism, which only got its sort of steamroller charge during the Olympics, which we say was kind of a dress rehearsal for what we've experienced since the Olympics. So we would say there are many downsides to hosting the Olympic Games, and that you won't hear about those from the planners and from the elected officials, many of whom stand to benefit from the Games. And the people who did, there were people who benefited. They were the private folks who planned the Games and who benefited from some of the contracts for media and other accesses to the Olympic memorabilia. So there was plenty of benefit, but it did not accrue to the public entities that supported it.